You're listening to Cash and Sass. I'm Lisa Marie, your go-to gal for all things money. As the Sassy Wealth Queen and the brains behind the Sassy Wealth Coach, I'm here to take you on a thrilling ride from the financial chaos to sassy and sexy money.
Welcome back, my sassy friend, to another episode of Cash and Sass. My name is Lisa Marie. I am the host of this podcast and the powerhouse behind Transcendent Wealth Company. And today I have Matt Gerlach. I said that right?
You did.
He is the founder and CEO of Rise to Your Worth and is a visionary leader dedicated to helping high-achieving executives and entrepreneurs unlock their true potential through healing, fulfillment, and self-discovery. Drawing from his own journey of overcoming trauma and adversity to scaling his business to $1 million a year, Matt guides clients in breaking free from their limiting beliefs and achieving emotional alignment, which he believes is the foundation of true success. His strategic growth consultancy, focuses on setting clear boundaries, prioritizing well-being, and creating a vision aligned with one's deepest desires, empowering leaders to inspire and uplift those around them. And I'm going to say welcome because your bio right there, talked about alignment and desires. And that's what I talk about with, building wealth that's aligned with your values, your goals, and your desires, and being able to live the life you want to do. And before we went live, we were talking about, how we make those shifts, and sometimes it's surrounding ourselves. So before we get started, because y'all know what I say, this is going to be all about money and how different aspects of our lives affect money. And as you know, nothing is off the table. So Matt, please tell me or tell the listeners just a little bit about your story so we get a little gist of a background of what your money story is. Because before we went live, you were telling you grew up in a little bit of lack. I was too. But I'd like to have just a little bit of your story because, again, everybody's is different. And I want people to realize that sometimes that lack can be, like you talked about, masked and you don't see it at first.
Sure. Thanks for having me. So growing up, I always had desires for more. I wanted more. A lot of it was because I had literally zero friends at school for almost my entire adolescence. And I thought money would fix things. And I have a lot of compassion for that young, literally that young 8-year-old that thought that. I had a grandmother. I was very, very, very close with my grandparents. One of them was not the most healthy in terms of emotional lessons like this. And she used to say things like, money is your best friend. I rejected that. But as I've learned to understand, there were parts of me that I think did not reject that, even with my best intentions. I always wanted, I thought the reason I didn't have friends was because my clothes weren't cool enough. I didn't have rollerblades, whatever it was. And I, I was on this pursuit to build myself a really abundant life from a very young age. It was not easy for my parents to be able to deal with somebody who had desires beyond what they could provide and what was status quo. I experienced a lot of chastising for that, punished very severely for acting out and, quite simply trying to find safety in my adolescence.
Right.
I did manage to, when I graduated college, I did okay. I was making I graduated making like $33,000 a year, which is not that okay. But soon I was making like 60, which wasn't bad. Like this was back in 2005 or so. And I'd always hard work always earned me more money. And I moved to New York, and then in my mid 30s, I was making about $250,000, which was good, really good, but New York's expensive. And sadly, that's not as much as it was, 20 years ago. And I got laid off from a job, and it's really sad. I mean, I knew that I was going to get laid off. This wasn't shocking. I had several $100,000 in the bank at this time. But I just went in panic mode, and I started a consulting business and didn't really ask myself at all if that's what I wanted. I had a lot of freedom in my prior job, and I knew that I didn't want to go back to holding my chair down at 5:00 on a Friday to make somebody happy. So I started this consulting business. I had no idea that when people start businesses, they're supposed to backwards engineer the business that they want for the life, or the business that will give them the life that they want. So I just tried to shove this square peg into this round hole, worked harder. I didn't, no one really ever told me growing up that I was enough, that I was good, that I did, like that I was excellence driven. My excellence driven was actually admonished because it was making other people so uncomfortable. So I took on these clients. It was in the consumer product space, helping them with their revenue and marketing objectives and growth. And I had like 6 clients. I was charging about 4,000 a month for them, like literally coming in doing a full time job for 6 different people at one time. And I was absolutely crumbling, absolutely like anxiety, depression. I was suicidal. I had no idea that emotional health even mattered at this point. So I was going to doctor after doctor after doctor, assumingly like I had cancer or a brain tumor or something was wrong with me. Ended up in the hospital twice, thinking I was having a heart attack. Come to realize they were just plain old panic attacks from too much stress, and eventually ended up on a healing journey. Like I just couldn't do any other. I just kept pursuing, and finally, after exhausting all of the medical doctors, someone finally said to me, like, "You're absolutely have anxiety, and this is what's going on, and you need to deal with it." I became a yoga teacher, started talking about my feelings there, tons of therapy, couples therapy, coaching, and realized that it was a traumatic childhood that was holding me back. I never addressed the fact that I grew up thinking I was a worthless piece of crap.
And so therefore you had the if you didn't make any money, you weren't working hard enough. So you had to work harder.
Yep.
And you had to keep working harder so that you still deserved that money you got. I get that. And one of the things that we talk about and I think we really want to discuss is how we move past that. And one of the things that you put in the questionnaire and I wrote it down was how we need to have exposure to affluence. And I even asked you what that means. And I want us to put it in layman terms for my listeners. And I agree with you, which is why I want to ask this, because I believe, and people say it all the time, you are, what is it? You are the top 5 people you hang around with.
Mm-hmm.
So who are you hanging around with the most, right? Are they people who are always in the lack or always negative, or are they positive and living in abundance? And sometimes those people are going to change, but you always want to look and see who those top 5 people are that you're constantly around, whether that's online or physical, right? You want to make sure you pay attention to it. So going into that, how do you think that affluence affects? And I want you to explain it, because I agree with you. Because I didn't know what was possible either until I started the business and I started seeing what was possible.
Thank you for the question. And I kind of coined the term exposure to affluence. It's really just exposure to people who have things, who, to expand your mind, being around people who have the lives that you want. You don't know what's possible. I can't tell you how many people I've met that are just like, I make $100,000 a year. This is all that's possible for me. Like, I can't handle the stress of this. Or the stress of doing something bigger. I'm not good enough. And then, like, when I was living in New York, I started to see, this was back in 2010, where I met people that were making $500,000, like business people like me, people that don't have advanced degrees, and started seeing like, oh my gosh, there's people that are making $500,000 with a 4-year degree that are great great salespeople. And I started to see that was possible for me. One of the biggest, most impactful mentors that's coming up for me right now was a woman who I worked with. A woman who owned the company that I worked for when I moved to New York. I remember a conversation I had with her, and she started, it was in the baby product industry. She started this massive company that she never dreamt that it would become what it did, I think. But I remember talking to her being like, I have no ideas. And she said to me, they'll come. And it's been a very arduous journey of like living in that discomfort to really like get to a place where the idea finally comes. And I think so many people, they can't endure that process of what it takes to become what we are wanting to be. And it's not scary. And this is what I mean, like the exposure to affluence. Like, it's not about just like seeing, oh, he has a lot of money, I want to do that. It's being exposed to people, engaging in conversations, realizing what they've gone through, realizing how they've persevered through it. Like recently, I made this big shift. I left my $1 million a year consulting business, and that was what I was taking home. I didn't quite share much about that, but on this journey, I got coaching and I learned how to advocate for myself, how to set boundaries, how to align my skills with those who are willing to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually I got this to where I was working 15, 20 hours a week max. And it took a while to get there. And that's why I'm so passionate about helping others, because I help my clients shave down that time quite substantially for a very reasonable amount of money. But, like when we are around people that show us that's possible, like we see for ourselves. And so I left my consulting business behind because it was no longer fulfilling me. I was around people that I saw leave big paychecks behind because it wasn't serving them anymore. And on this journey of building my coaching business, it's been like crazy. Like, I can't believe today, like even just who I've become in just trusting that things are going to work out. So it's not about just the money, it's about everything, being exposed to people who have the emotional capacity to be able to do big things in the world. But if we're around
and also, like you said, seeing, having conversations, and you're seeing what they went through, and you're getting to know them. And they're like, oh, wait a minute, because a lot of times we'll see someone who's making multi-millions and we're like, ugh. And then when you talk to them, you find out, guess what? That journey wasn't just as straightforward as you think it was. That they're human. They have shit shows that show up and happen. And when you surround yourself with those people, what my coach says is you're putting yourself around the ones that you want to be like. So who you want to, as you say, affluence too, but be more like. So be around them so you can learn from them what they've done, how they did it. And then also it shows your subconscious and your internal what's actually possible. Because, I've met plenty of people who were on food stamps like me, or grew up homeless or whatever. And I didn't know it when I met them, and then sitting talking with them. And now they're making high six figures, going into making seven figures. And you're like, oh, okay, well, if they can do it, then so can I, right? Because it shows you what's possible. And I just think that's really, really important. What are some of the things that when you affluence yourself with them and you're seeing emotionally and money and just all in all, like you're seeing that they're aligned, how does that change how you move from that lack to abundance?
Well, what first came up when you asked that question right now, it is trust. It's trusting in the process. Like,
And that's hard.
it is so hard. Like, that's what I was kind of saying earlier. Like, I was practicing yoga this morning and just thinking, like, God, like, how did I get to this place where I'm fine? Like, literally the worst case scenario that could happen might be that if things went horribly bad in my life with my partner, we may have to move to a smaller house. And you start to realize, like, this house is big and it has a lot of problems. Like, who's to say I won't like living in a smaller house? You start to play out these worst case scenarios and realize, like, these aren't that bad. And like, we trust in life that we learn from these people that they've trusted in life. And if you talk to people who have billions of dollars, and good for them, I'm not really on that trajectory. I don't need $1 billion. No admonishment there. But like, most of them have had serious loss that's happened in their lives. They've had massive failures. And I think we cognitively like read those stories and we kind of gloss over them. But when you start to slow down and realize that, like, all of these things that happen are lessons, it really changes the game. Along with that, it's like, it's setting boundaries, like this 80-20 rule that everyone out there has heard. It's true. I mean, 80% of your clients are, 20% of your clients are generally generating 80% of your revenue. 20% of your clients are ideal clients. 80% of them are sucking your energy dry. And the more that you can start to align yourself with saying no to the wrong people, saying yes to the right people, this includes employees, like, hire slow, fire fast. I lead with compassion. I'm an excellent leader, but you start to realize like that if somebody's not cutting it on day 3, they're more than likely not going to cut it on day
Not
30
gonna cut it.
either. And
Right.
you start to make these decisions and realize that like, I'm a very, very nice, compassionate person, but like when you start to like be able to sort of put the business first, in a lot of cases, like if you have 10 employees and 2 of them suck, you're harming those other 8 people by keeping those 2 on board. And when you start to look at it that way, it becomes a lot easier to just like make decisions that are for the greater good of everybody.
And that also comes true even if it's not employees, but if you have a team of contractors. So like me, and other online service providers, when we have, a back end where there's a bunch of contractors and they're part of our team. If someone's not doing something or what they're doing is totally, and sometimes it won't be out of alignment at first, but then as you're shifting, it becomes out of alignment, then it's what Matt said. It starts sucking. It sucks the energy. And when it sucks the energy, it affects how you're making money and how you're building your business and the direction you're wanting to go in. And I think it's really important because, I tell people all the time, you've got to make sure that all parts, that you're paying attention to the numbers and everything, but that's all parts of it, not just the money part. That's the numbers on the back end, the connections, all of those things. And if somebody isn't up to par or no longer up to par, right? And it's shifted, then it's time to shift. It's time to shift them out. I mean, because it does, it affects everything, right? Because it shifts the energy, especially if y'all are truly working together as a team. And so I think that that's really important. I mean, it's something that when I first started my business, I didn't really pay attention to. And then I started realizing, oh, wait, I need to pay attention to this because this is my team. They're not employees, but they're my team. And if they're not doing something and it's sucking the energy, then it's affecting how I'm going to show up. And I think that that's really important because when it affects how you show up, it affects how you, it just affects everything you do, right? I mean, it affects how you think. It affects what you do. It affects whether you're going to be in the lack or the abundance. It affects everything. Most people don't realize that, but it really does. How we say letting go and trusting, and I'm not going to say it's hard. I say it's difficult. It's a learning process. But what's one thing someone can do to start practicing that of letting go and trusting the process, still making what we call inspired action and doing the actionable steps and trusting, letting go and trusting. And so you're trusting the process, right? What's something they can do that helps them be able to let go of that and trust the process?
I have 2 things on this. If you're, business wise, this is what, you do need to have a cushion. We need to work towards you having a cushion to where you have the privilege to be able to say no to things that are wrong. So that's the first thing. And if you do, you say no to something that's wrong for you and you trust that it's going to work out. You don't start with your top client, you start with your small client. You see this, like when you start saying no to the wrong people, you are telling the universe that they can bring you the right people. Don't go that route unless you have that financial cushion yet, unless or you're willing to work with whatever that might bring financially. Start with and then the second way I would take this is start with personal relationships. Like if someone's draining your energy, tell them no, that you don't want to hang out with them, cut them out of your life and see the next week, the next 2 weeks, see who comes in your life that is more aligned. I'm not going to proclaim this is easy. This is like next level thing to like start trusting this. But once you can start like testing it out, you start seeing that the universe wants you to be happy. I said this a little while ago and it really resonated. I think about it all the time, but like God does not want us to be miserable. And, it is an exercise, but the more that we can start building that muscle to be able to withstand those short-term gains for longer-term wins, we see that the universe can be trusted.
Yeah.
It's a tall order. So. I promise you, it's a tall order, but no better time than today to get started on it.
Yeah. And one of the things I'll say is also one of the things I do is I will have my future self write my current self a letter
Mm-hmm.
and think from the future self. And then it also shows you, oh, okay, taking the inspired action, you're seeing because you're now believing what's possible, right? And it could be a 6 months from then, right? It doesn't have to be a future self 10 years from now. You could do it for 10 years from now, but you could also do it short term. I do short term. I do 6 months to a year. That's where my brain goes. I don't want to go 10 years out because it's harder for me to, or more difficult for me to see that far. Um, and going out a year though helps me be able to stay focused and lean in and trust.
Mm-hmm.
And are there days that I have to remind myself, let go, lean in, trust, let go, lean in, trust? Yes, absolutely. Because I will say it like that repeatedly to remind my body, right, and my nervous system that it's going to be okay,
Mm-hmm.
and that we've taken the steps, we're doing the things, keep doing the things, and it's going to work out exactly how it's supposed to be. And 9 out of 10 times it's going to be better than what we're thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, the universe and God do not want us to be miserable. They don't. What are some of the other things that you've done to help yourself with that trust, and also keeping yourself in the abundance mindset instead of in that lack?
It's a practice, I mean, I am a yoga teacher, and early on in my anxiety and depression journey, I found yoga. I didn't know what it was doing, but I knew it felt good to go. So I started that. And we learn in yoga to use the word practice, that we're never going to be perfect. And it's
Mm-hmm.
interesting, like when I work with clients, I have one client in particular that I can tell when she's like doing her practice, when she's doing yoga or reading in the morning, she is so much more regulated than when she's not. And so I have a practice just like all of the greats. In the morning, I wake up. I go to bed early at about 8:15 normally. Wake up around 4:15. I meditate. I journal. I read. I do writing. I go work out, exercise, yoga, something. If I'm not feeling like that, then I go for a walk. I look at all of this not as chores, but as things that are helping me. That I mean, the rewards by giving myself this space in the morning to process and wake up and to just take care of myself. I journal a lot. I love journaling. I would say that it's the most beneficial thing in the world, and it's like cheap because you don't have to pay anything for it. It's accessible. You can write one line, you can write 10 lines, you could write 10 pages, you can type it. If you hate journaling, you can speak to yourself in the bathroom mirror. Like, do something to sort through these thoughts and get them out of your head. And I tell my clients this so often. I mean, I'm journaling like about financial stuff. Like if I'm thinking about money, like rather than just sit there and be this anxious person about it, I'm actually writing it down. Like, okay, I need to make, $50,000 for this. Like, how is that going to happen? Is this doable? Yeah. It's sorting through problems. But we need to find ways to get out of our head. I heard the best explanation about anxiety recently. This gentleman wrote this really helpful essay about it, and I'm going to paraphrase it. But it's like when we're anxious, we are like hovering over a problem. We're not allowing that problem to breathe. So
Mm-hmm.
when we have a problem, and again, these are tall orders, but we need to practice and do what we can do to let that problem breathe. When we're hovering over it, we're not helping. I mean, we're literally not help. We're making it worse. We're not allowing ourselves to sit in that discomfort and allow ourselves to process. Oh, like my client said no. Rather than being anxious about that, it's actually like, what could I have done better? How can I become more creative? But all of these things are processes. I love reading. I love becoming educated. And I think we were talking about this a little bit earlier about we are the sum of who we hang out with. I've noticed I've really cranked up over the past several months what I'm letting into my life. And it was earlier this week, I started listening to a podcast that was just a little bit too negative for me. And I could actually feel being in my body to feel like how that scarcity was not helping me, and I turned it off. And I am in a period right now where I am being a lot more careful about what I indulge because I don't need that in my life right now. I'm in a place where I'm full of hope, trust, abundance, and it's working quite well.
Yeah. And I love the fact that you said, find something because like you get up at 4:15, more power to you. Lisa Marie does not. Okay. During the school year, Lisa Marie is up at 5:30 because she has a child that goes to school. She is now done with middle school. Yay! So I don't have to get up. I will get up at 5:30 once school starts back. Technically, I won't have to, but I will because that helps my day because I have a child that's starting high school and there'll be different parts in there. What I do is I get up now the school's out by 6:15. I have my morning where I listen to music. I guess that's my way of meditating, but it's just me listening to music, eating my breakfast. And then I work out at 8:30 in the morning. And I do that. And that's whether she's in school or during the summer, right? And I do that every morning. And then at night, even if it's during the day, in the middle of the day or at night, if I've had a rough day and I'm in my head, once I'm in my head, I can't journal. Y'all have heard me say this. I can't get shit on the paper. It ain't gonna happen. I'm in my head. It's too late for that. One lady, she's a mentor, and she said this to me, and it stuck. Move it. So just shut the door, put on some music, and dance. It doesn't matter if you're hitting pillow. It doesn't matter what you look like dancing, but just move the energy out. And then I'm able to, whether it's 1 line, 5 lines, 2 pages, whatever, I'm able to journal. And so I do that if that's what I feel like I need, or I will light candles. I will play I have a meditation. The song's called Beautiful Meditation. I play it, and I have a coloring book that's called Just Sit and Be Still. That's the name of it, actually, because it reminds me to be still. And it'll have a devotional page, and then there'll be a page for coloring. And I do that, dim lights, no bright lights, before I go to bed. So I have a practice in the morning, I have a practice at night. I'm in bed by 9:30, 10 o'clock, normally about 10, because again, I have a child and she's not going to go to bed before 9. So I'm not going to bed before 9. But the key is, right, is to find what works and to be consistent with it, right? Not just to say, oh, I'm not getting up at 4:15 in the morning. I used to be one of those ones. I'm not getting up, but I still wouldn't have something consistent that I was doing to work on me and to keep me regulated, my nervous system regulated, and keep me in that abundance and trust. And now I do. Now, am I perfect with it every day? No. I am continuously practicing to make sure that I'm doing these things every day. There are some evenings where, for whatever reason, it was a hellacious day with the child and business, and all I do is crash in the bed, right? When I feel that way, what I did last night is I made sure I went and stretched. I did yoga stretching. It wasn't like pure yoga, but I did some stretching, and doing that cleared my mind. Again, just listening to something soft, music wise, and because I love music, and just stretching. Because then, like you said, you're bringing you're working your nervous system to just say, okay, you know what? It's okay. Let that shit out, right? Don't hold on to it. And so I think that's the key, is finding something, whatever it is. If it's yoga, whatever it is. I love hiking. I love walking. So I will make sure I'm walking. If it's raining, I can't go on a hike, I've got my treadmill. I am doing something, moving some way, even if it's on the days that I don't work out with my trainer, to make sure that I'm taking care of me. And that's huge. That was a big thing that I recognized about a year after I started my business, that I was putting me last. And so not only was it affecting my physical health, it was affecting my mental health. And what you're saying is you didn't realize, I didn't realize corporate was affecting my mental health. I was literally on the verge of a nervous breakdown when they let me go. And that's when I started seeing it, because I started recognizing all the patterns, but because we were so far deep into it, we just didn't recognize that's what was happening.
Thank you for sharing that. And I actually so many things, but I would say you're like a little next level in this, because you're learning how to have compassion for yourself in not consistently doing.
I didn't at first.
I'm at a place right now where
do not beat yourself up.
No, I'm at a place right now where, kind of hearing you say this, it's making me reflect. And it's like, I did a lot of those things I needed to listen to myself sometimes and like maybe not journal today and go for a walk. Like this is a practice of getting ourselves out of our crazy mind, which we all have, and getting ourselves
Exactly.
into our bodies and listening to it. And I want to point out
Yep.
what you just said. You got laid off from a job and look what happened. Your mind,
Hmm.
your nervous system was shot. Like this is when we trust life. Like life, could you imagine what your life would be like if you were still there right now?
I've thought about it and I know what it would be like. I would have been admitted somewhere. I would have had a nervous
Mhm.
breakdown because I was having migraines nonstop. I was having tension headaches. When I tell my story, when I tell people that when I was working there, I had so much tension that I could not turn my neck all the way around like this. I would have to hold it to go like that. And I
Mhm.
could only go that far. Within 6 weeks, I was able to start turning my neck. My neck, the tension in my shoulders and my neck weren't as bad. And within 6 months, no migraines.
W-
And I lived off of Excedrin tension headache and Imitrex. Okay. Let me just tell you the amount of Excedrin tension, I took the max dosage every day, the amount of pills I put in my body.
Mhm.
I am blessed to be as healthy as as healthy as I am. And I'm healthier now at the age of 51. Um, than I've ever been in my entire life. And that's because life happened and the God and universe said, you need out. You're not going to go on your own because you have 2 kids to take care of. So we're just going to make it happen.
And this
And
is
every time the universe seems to make it happen, I go, oh shit, what am I going to do? And then
and this is
it works
often what
out.
I'll no, and that's so beautiful. And this is often what I will do with the client when I'm starting with them or in the beginning stages of talking with someone. It's like, let's really identify this worst case scenario that you're so afraid of. Most people's worst case scenario is the life they're living already that they're looking to change. Like
Right.
what you leave this, I mean, so many of us don't even realize that like making half as much money doing something we love is totally possible. Like if you came to me and said, I want to make $10 million in 2 years, I don't care how much I sleep, how much I hurt other people or whatever, that's not the kind of person that I work with. I work with, and that's fine if that's what you want to do. When I was younger, I mean, that's a little different. I didn't want to hurt people, but I work with the person that comes to me often and says, I'm, 45 years old, or I'm 40 years old, or 50 years old, and I just can't do what I used to do when I was 30, and I'm not sure what's wrong with me. And then we realize that they have this $8 million business sometimes that, like, really what they're looking for is to downsize this to make it into a $2 million business they love. Or
Hmm.
oftentimes it's helping them keep that 8 million, grow that $8 million business into a $10 million business, but it's helping them hold their team in a different level of accountability. Most people that I work with they want to not be so involved in the day to day. They need employees that can respect and want to work autonomously enough to earn the right to work autonomously. There's plenty of people out there. Like if back when I worked for somebody, if you were to tell me jump this high and we'll have one less meeting, I would jump that high to not have that meeting. So it's helping people find,
I can't stand being micromanaged.
yes, a lot of people don't want to be micromanaged and they will perform at 120% to not have to be
And if you would
micromanaged.
stop, yes, yes. And for me, it's the opposite. Is I made the decision of not going back because I was like, if I'm barely going to make ends meet, then I'm not going to do it making someone else rich. I'm going to do it on my own terms. And so that's telling you at first, I didn't see what was possible. I've always barely made ends meet. I worked corporate, I worked long hours, and I barely was able to put food on the table. I have been on food stamps. I know what it's like to not decry in the closet and wonder how you're going to feed your kids, right? Um, and when I made that decision, I was like, you know what? If this is what it is, okay, but I'm going to do it on my terms. I'm going to do it where I'm going to be in my kid's life
Mm-hmm.
and not making someone else wealthy and rich. And so when I did that, that was the goal. That was the whole why was my 2 girls and to be around them. And from there it shifted because then I started seeing what was possible, because I started putting myself around those people. And at first it was online because I didn't know anyone, and I was starting to, I hadn't done the events, and now I start doing the events. And so now I'm putting myself around more and more people, because I went from food stamps to six figures in 3 years. And now I'm 8 years in. And even in the most difficult year of the business, I still wouldn't go back to corporate.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay, I want to up level. So what do I need to do? My coach reminds me, start putting yourself around those higher people that are doing the things that you want to do, that have achieved what you want to achieve, just like what Matt said. And so that's what I've started doing. And what else do you want to do? I want to make a difference. I want people to start talking about money. Hence why Cash and Sass was started February of last year, because I was done with all the things of, don't talk about mental health. Don't talk about money. Oh, for the love of God, where has that gotten us? Nowhere. So this is what we're going to do. And I love how you talk about that we've got to be able to trust, and we've got to be able to see what's possible. And when we do, we're able to just strip so much time away, and actually having a coach be able to help you strip even more time away to achieve it faster than they did,
Mm-hmm.
because they've learned what not to do,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's just like working with a fractional CFO and a wealth mentor like me. You work with us so that we can help you obtain what, without making a lot of the same mistakes we made, right? And you want someone on the outside being able to say, hey, you can do this, or you might want to go hire this person because this will help you, and you're going to be able to build wealth this way, and you're able to learn how to manage the money in a better way. And I find that the more money people start making, they have that lack of, okay, how do I do this to make sure I'm keeping it and managing it, and I'm still living the lifestyle I want.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just changing how you look at it and how you manage it. And that's where I come in. So I absolutely love, we could talk about this all day. But we can't, because I'm hungry. Please delete that, my person who's doing that. But you have a free offer.
Mm-hmm.
Can you please tell my listeners what it's about? Because I absolutely love it. I was reading it. It's a complimentary 45-minute session, but it's personalized. So I would like you to tell them about it, because I think it's amazing.
Thank you. If you go to my website, or you can go to risetoyourworth.com, or at the top of my website, it has a banner, but you download this workbook. It's really a distillation of my entire healing journey. I've spent over $250,000 getting myself out of lack and into a place of abundance. It's really a simple, digestible workbook that you could start to open up your mind with, and start writing down what you want in life and what's holding you back from it. It's not complicated. It's really because there's so many like programs and frameworks out there that are just these like completely robust things that are like not accessible. And when I look back to my healing journey, it was really just a very simple process. And that's what I work with my clients on. But more than that, you can schedule a free 45-minute call with me. I'm just like at a place of service in my life right now where I love helping other people with seeing what's possible for themselves. So if you sign up, you can get a 45-minute call with me completely free, and would love to talk to you about your dreams and your aspirations and how to go after them.
I love it. I love it. If you get anything out of this, it's being able to learn to let go and trust, and make sure that you're doing those things to stay in that abundant mindset.
Mm-hmm.
The key is to practice, right? That and not beating yourself up. I would go to start, and then I'd beat myself up because something happened and I wasn't able to do it. And that's a continuous practice of not beating yourself up, and getting back into it, right? To keep doing that journey. And it gets better over time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for being a guest on my show. I truly appreciate it. This is a conversation that's absolutely dear to my heart. And we could talk forever. And just thank you. And my sassy listener, I hope you go and take him up on the free offer, get the 45-minute free call, go and see what's possible. Talk about it with someone who's been there, done that, and can help you, right? and be able to help strip some of that away, and you be able to see what's possible a little bit faster. And remember, until next time, yes, money can be sassy and sexy, and go out and build that wealth because it's truly possible. Bye.
Thanks for joining us this week on Cash and Sass. Check us out on social media and on our website at www.thesassywealthcoach.com, where you can download my free Money Story Start Guide. The website again is www.thesassywealthcoach.com. And as always, subscribe to the show to catch every new episode and leave us a review so we can continue to bring you fresh content. And remember, yes, it is possible to have sassy and sexy money. See you next week.